Now, Dr. Gallagher, I want to talk about specifically the juvenile justice class. And I want to talk to you about like how you plan for like when you plan for the class, what are your goals for the entire semester? Are you going off a template or are you going off where the world is now? Or are you going off your experience? Talk to me about that. And then let's say you hit a snag or you feel like students aren't picking up what you're putting down. How do you get back on course? But before that, I want to talk to a few of the students about what has your experience been so far with the class and compare your expectations to what you've learned. Compare your expectations against what you've learned so far. And I know, Jocelyn, you got to hop pretty soon. Do you want to start us off and give us a little feel about what you've got out of the class so far? And let's see if Jocelyn's still here. And talk about what your expectations were before you got into the class. You want to start us off, Rebecca? Maybe talk about what your expectations were for the class, what your experience has been so far, and give Dr. Gallagher a little feedback, a little bit about how he can improve what he does.
So, I had pretty high expectations for the classes because this isn't my first class of Dr. Gallagher, so I knew I was going to learn a lot. The class is going really well. Last time we got to do a training, which is really nice. Got to learn a little bit more, and just got to open up our eyes more on like delinquents and how to help them and how to help like juveniles and how to help them. So I really enjoyed the class, and I'm excited for the rest of the semester and see what else more we get to like get out of it.
Nice, nice. What about you, Grace? What were your expectations coming in from a pretty like you know how they say fresh eyes are smart eyes, and because you didn't have a lot of social work background, um, what have your been expectations been so far, just in graduate school, but in particular this class with Dr. Gallagher because he's an orator. He's
He
really good.
truly is. He truly is. That was what I was going to start with, honestly. As you all just heard for a little as he was describing oppositional defiant disorder and conduct disorder, he breaks it down so well, and he really makes it. He delivers it in a way that is just everyone can understand it, and it's applicable to the real world and to what you'll see as a practicing social worker. So I appreciate that. I've had a couple classes with him already in my experience at Morgan, so I knew, like Rebecca said, I knew that I was going to learn something and I was going to enjoy it. And also, like Rebecca said, the training, he always provides trainings for us to do as specific assignments. And I think that is very helpful because they're just very applicable to what we will be doing when we graduate. And they're helpful in both our academic and our like internships and stuff like that. So that I really appreciate coming from him, as well as just he always provides his own like lesson and interpretation of what we're learning, but also gives us other resources and videos and other ways to learn from other perspectives. I know we had one virtual lecture that was basically a training about different forms of juvenile justice prevention. That was, I think it was in maybe California. I actually don't remember, but it was three different presentations about how they have um, kind of focused on prevention and diversion rather than punitive measures with juveniles. And I like to hear what's going on so it's relevant to like what's going on around us in other states. But it's things that we can learn from and bring to Maryland and to Baltimore. So that I really appreciate as well from him.
Nice. Now, Dr. Gallagher, there are some good professors, and then But you have people that will take you one time, and then you have other professors where people clamor to get into their class, and now we have Rebecca and Grace have had you twice. It may be, they may have had to, but from my limited perspective, I think that is because you truly, truly care. You really care about Rebecca. You truly care about Grace. You truly care about Adabambo. Where does that come from? Where does your caring come from? Is it from just your passion of the space, or is it just because of who you are?
I'm so happy to hear that. And I hope I'm not always my best self, right? And I say you can ask my mom or my daughters or my girlfriend, right? I have my own set of shortcomings, right? I'm not always my best self. But for students, right? And of course for the people in my life that I love, I sure as heck try to be. And what I mean by that is right now I'm teaching a face-to-face class Monday nights. And I start thinking about it Sunday. When I say I start thinking about the class and what I'm going to teach, but I start thinking about getting my mind right. And what I mean is I like to think, and I hope that my biggest strength as a professor is the energy and passion that I bring to the table. I have to get prepared for that. I got to sleep good Sunday night. I got to make sure Monday during the day I don't get too overwhelmed or stressed. I got to save my energy. So 5:30 at night when I show up to class, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to provide a service. So I love the work that I do. And I will say that I say this with students when we're talking about clinical social work, say counseling. So if you're counseling a client or a patient, I say, if you provide a safe, non-judgmental, confidential environment for people to receive counseling therapy, that's 80% of the equation. That's 80% of providing good quality counseling. With education, I've learned that if you provide passion and energy and enthusiasm and care for the students, that's 80, the learning will come after it. So when I hear, and I really appreciate the kind words that I can provide that caring environment, it is because I care. And I work at it and have wonderful people in my life to help me do that. But at the same time, it is mutually beneficial. 2 weeks ago, I was teaching my Monday night in-person class. And that day I was experiencing tremendous levels of anxiety. Couldn't really explain it, but I was having a difficult day, just a difficult mental health day for me. Generally in my life, everything's okay, but I had a lot of anxiety that day. I did class. I left class, called my girlfriend on the drive home from Baltimore to Harrisburg, and I said, whew, I feel better. That's exactly what I needed. And what I needed was you all, the students. That camaraderie, that passion we have together to help others, to address social issues, juvenile justice issues through a social work lens. So the kindness is mutually beneficial. And I witnessed it. I witness it all the time. But 2 weeks ago, I remember having a conversation with my girlfriend saying, my anxiety's gone. My mental health support, my mental health counseling session that day was teaching class with the students. Now, on a side note, I'm very passive, I think, and I'm passive intentionally, meaning with Rebecca and Grace and Jocelyn at Abambo, I've said, hey, here's what I want you talking about. Best practices in serving African Americans in the juvenile justice system. What do we know about juvenile drug courts in the justice system? And go ahead and work on it. And I'm here. When you need me, reach out. I'll always support you. But go work on it. And I rely on their expertise. And again, a very passive approach. Those four minds together have this beautiful synergistic effect. It's going to produce a product come April 1,000 times better than I could ever come up with on my own. And the fact that I'm passive and they're able to use their independent thinking, not my thinking, their critical thinking, not my thinking. They're using it with support from me, but I'm very passive of, here's the topic, best practices for African-American youth in the justice system. What do we know about juvenile drug courts? Go work on it, and I'm here to help you. I think that passive nature helps promote good quality education, because it's just like, say, the patients that we work with, the young men and young women who have mental health disorders or addictions. They are the experts of their own life. Our patients are the experts of their life, always, not us. Students, y'all, you're the experts of your learning and how you learn best. So I'm just so happy to hear that I do. I want to bring passion and energy to the classroom. I do want to care. And I work hard to get my mind right so I can be 100% attentive to my students. Just as I try to keep my mind right to be 100% attentive to my family and my daughters and my girlfriend. And then the last point I'll make is I typically don't have due dates for assignments. So I think students tend to like that. And when I say due dates, you'll see the syllabus. Here's the assignments, here's the due dates. But a student may say, I'm not going to make the due date. Can I have a week extension? I say, of course. Because you, the student, are the expert of your learning style and when an assignment may be completed best for you. And life happens. If you need an extension, I say, you can have an extension, no problem. Now, of course, come the end of May, I say, I need them all because I got to put your final grade in. But I'm very passive with the learning style, and I'm very passive with due dates, and very broad. I'd say, hey, do a paper on juvenile justice, and you can pick whatever topic you want, because you're the expert, not me, as long as it's remotely related to juvenile justice, and I'll support that topic. So that's kind of how I've always approached education, but it's really no different than social work. When you practice social work, the families, the juveniles, the young men, the young women, anyone we work with, they are the expert of their process of change, whether it's healing from trauma, whether it's healing from drug addiction, healing from bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. They are always the expert, and we are there to learn about them, not project our values and our beliefs onto them. We're there to listen. As Grace and others have said, we're there to give them a voice and support them in their process of change. That's how I viewed education.
I'm going to get to Adebambo and Jocelyn in 1 second, but I heard your rap, Dr. Gallagher, so I know you'll be able to feel this right here. And it's a certain ignorance that the greats have. And I think when it's all said and done, you're going to be one of the greats in the field of social work. And one of the great rappers of all time, Lil Wayne, said, you never know what you're doing till you stop doing it. Call me foolish because I do this. And that's what it is, Dr. Gallagher, because you truly do this, you don't even understand what you're bringing to the field. Where you're bringing an awful lot. You're bringing an awful lot.
Yeah, I forgot to. Yes, I rap sometimes. The students here did not hear my most recent rap, but yeah, Monday. I tell my students last Monday night to the social work addiction class, I rap. So I joke. I say my rap name's John the Phenomenon. John the Phenomenon came out of retirement. And awesome. We did an addiction recovery rap. So I'm still looking for a record deal.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Adebambo, how do you feel? Compare your expectations of the class to what the results have been for you so far. You're on mute, Adebambo.
No, okay. Thank you. If I have to look back when I first joined the class, this this wasn't where I was back then, but I've uh, I've had Dr. Gallagher's class. I think about three different classes with him. He is so nice, compassionate,
Mhm.
accommodating. He gave us his phone number. He shares his number in class that if you need me, even in the middle of the night, feel free to call me. If you don't get me, leave a message and I will get back. I've called him several times. He will return my call in less than 30 minutes. That's how good and how compassionate he can be. So, with social work, with Dr. Gallagher, I've learned to be so empathetic, to be patient, organized, and even to be more persistent. Because even when anytime I have troubles, maybe with some of my clients or regarding counseling, so anytime I'm in class, I share that with him, and he will just bring it so easy that, hey, this is what you need to do. And I will be so relieved. So, and he is one of the reasons why I'm still going on in this field, and the reason why I really want to continue in the line of social work and to make impact in people's life, because he has made a difference in my own life. The way I relate with family members, the way I own this in class, I emulate him, the way he handle things in an easy way. So I try to make things easy for myself rather than getting burnt out in things. I do think in my head, oh, when Dr. Gallagher talks, he talks so smooth and easy. So just take it easy on yourself. So I try to go through that part as well. So, and being in a social work, I actually am determined to actually make a difference and follow the suit of my leaders.
Dr. Gallagher, we're gonna have to change it to John the Great. Let me get Jocelyn's thoughts first about about what you've learned in the class so far, Jocelyn, and compare that to what your expectations were.
Um, I want to say this is probably like the third class that I've taken a Dr. Gallagher. Um, honestly, once you find a good professor, like you have to take all of their classes. I really enjoy. So going into the class, I already knew not knew what to expect, but I knew that I was going to learn a lot, and be exposed to a lot of information that I wasn't privy to beforehand. Through this class, especially the individualized trainings that Dr. Gallagher has us do, has helped me broaden my own information that I had, as well as make me slowly but surely continue to make me a better social worker. And something that in particular that I really like that Dr. Gallagher does is that whenever I turn in an assignment, the comments, usually your comments on your papers are like critiquing it, but even with his critiques, he also finds something positive to say, either about me as an individual or about the assignment that I did, or both, to be honest. And as much as you're turning in papers and you're doing the work in graduate school, you kind of forget, like, maybe I am doing the right thing. And having that reassurance, even if it's a little comment on a paper, it still is just like, it makes me want to keep going and continuing my education and finishing with the program.
That's awesome. John the Great, aka Dr. Gallagher.